Georgia has just won their third straight national championship. At that point, being the first to ever do that, is Georgia at that point considered the greatest dynasty in college football history? So if Georgia wins it all this year, 3 straight, the first to ever do that, do they become the greatest dynasty in college football history?
Yes, because there is so much more parity in college football with NIL and the transfer portal. And if they were able to do it, back-to-back years with Stetson and then, breaking in a new quarterback in Carson Beck, yeah, I would say so.
Can you tell me who is the current best? Who do they have to beat to get that? Would it be most recent Alabama?
I think it's Alabama.
Okay,
when
so it's Alabama from
9, 11, 12, 15, 17, 20.
Yeah, so it's Alabama basically for a decade from 9 to 20.
Right. And I don't know if the answer is yes for sure by winning 3 straight if you're considered a greater dynasty than what Alabama has done, but you do become the first to ever win 3 straight.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go with Alabama still there, Lance. I mean, to Dunaway's point, that was, 6 and 10 years. I got the math right there, right? Or 6 and 11 years. I mean, 3 straight is impressive, but, I mean, it's very impressive. Never been done. But for Alabama to have that kind of consistency for a decade and what at that time was the most parity we've ever seen in college football, maybe it's more now.
Yeah, but that would three national championship losses.
Yeah,
along the way, they have 6 wins and 3 losses.
Yeah, so
9 championship wins.
I think I would still say Alabama has the edge over them, but Georgia is closing fast, is the way I would qualify.
Yeah, I would go 3 straight. 3 straight's incredible.
No, it's incredible, but when we're talking about best dynasty of all time, there's got to be a time element involved. And 11 years. I mean, this is what we used to discuss with the Spurs, because they had 5 over 16 years, right?
Right.
This is 6 over 11, so it's even more compressed. And everybody's like, I don't know how to qualify that. That's 5 over 16. It's not just a bunch in a row. And Alabama did, a couple in a row. Then they would do boom, lose a year back. So I'd still say Alabama at that point. I mean, you can
make an argument. No, so go back to the Oklahoma team that won, 55 straight?
Yeah, I think that was 2 national championships.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They only won 2, though, right?
Yeah, nobody's ever won 3 straight in the poll era, which started in, I believe, 37. Is that what it was? 35, 37?
It was in the 30s.
So Minnesota did it right before then,
but
right?
If Georgia does pull this off, this is just the beginning. So even if you don't consider this, 3 consecutive, the greatest dynasty, you're probably going to end up having the greatest dynasty, because even if they have a gap year or 2 and win 4 and 6.
Your point is Georgia's not going anywhere in the next 10 to 15 years.
No. Well, and that's the thing about dynasties is you really have to wait until they're obviously over to judge them. Like for instance, I'll give you great. The Patriots dynasty, I think we would all agree it's obviously over, right?
Seems like it is.
Yeah, I mean,
if they come back and win it all this year, then you're like, oh, is it really over yet?
I mean, for a good 20-year run, they were the best franchise in the NFL for a good 20-year run.
Yeah.
So, and I think we can look at it now and say, okay, it shows signs that thing's obviously over. Tom Brady's gone. Belichick is clearly near the end. They're far from elite now. They may even be the worst team in their own division.
Yeah. To your point, though, if Alabama comes back and wins another one this year, you're going to be like, well, hell, that's not over yet.
Yeah. And I mentioned the Spurs 5 and 16. We could put that one to bed too, right? I know Pop is still there, but that Spurs dynasty, it ended. It ended.
Yeah.
The Lakers Showtime dynasty, I mean, there was an obvious end to that.
Yes.
So, the Celtics dynasty, there was an obvious end to that. So I think you have to wait until that to really make a fair judgment, because to Lance's point, I went Alabama here. But if Georgia just loses this one and they come back and win 2 and 4 years, they're tracking right with Alabama. And maybe they do that over a 10 or 11 year period, and now I got to make a decision.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the complete deal on Georgia before I make a judgment.
So it's not necessarily automatic if it's 3 straight.
I don't think so, no.
But it becomes the first ever. Ross says, now be an Auburn fan. You're talking about possibly the 2 greatest dynasties in college football histories, and who just happens to be your 2 biggest rivals.
It's been tough for them. And it's
And during that, though, you've won a national championship and played for another.
That is correct.
Should have won 2.
Yeah.
Which would have been the best period of football in your school history.
Yeah, and even in 2017, you were in the SEC championship game with a chance to play for another one and couldn't close the deal.